Fresh out the box, stop, look, and watch. Ready yet? Get set. TW Talking Bout Podcast is back. Let's go. Welcome to the Talking Bout Podcast. Welcome to TW Talking Bout Podcast. I gotta get my branding right. This is the place where you get my unfiltered thoughts on what everybody is talking about. And real quick before we get started, please do your boy a favor. Hit the like button on this post wherever you're seeing it. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button on the YouTube. Show this account some love. Help me grow the show. Let's get these vibes out to anybody and everybody who wants to talk with us. And by the way, Wrestlemania 42 is in the books. It was a good time. I enjoyed it. People had a lot to say. There was a lot of criticism, a lot of conversation, a lot coming from wrestling fans, and a lot coming from non-wrestling fans. And guess what? All of it is valid. We're going to give some life to it. We're going to give some analysis to it. We're also going to go over my WrestleMania 42 predictions, because the last time I came to you guys, I brought you my WrestleMania 42 predictions. We're going to look back, okay, because I did write these down, okay? I'm not trying to shy away, not trying to skirt away from how I did on my predictions. We're going to look at my predictions, see how I did, and I'm going to stand on it, baby. I'm going to stand on it, okay? And we're going to talk about what happens next, because I like stories, okay? I like stories, and I like to talk about the story perspective. I like to talk about where things are going, what kind of story are they telling us, and how do I feel about that story? There's a lot of elements to professional wrestling that are great, right? There's the action, the moves, the presentation, the theatrics, the costumes, all of that cool stuff that goes along with it, the production of it. There's so many great elements, but the thing that I love the most is the stories. Like, what type of ride are they trying to take us on with the story of a particular program, a particular feud, a particular interaction? There's always some sort of angle there, right? And I like looking at the stories and saying, where are they trying to take us? Like, do I like this direction? Is this a good direction? Do I think it's the right direction, right? That's how I watch wrestling. And by the way, something I think everybody should know, there is no wrong way to watch wrestling. Hello. Whatever it is you like is valid. If you're a big fan of the moves, that's okay. If you're a big fan of the body types and whatever, that's okay. Whatever it is that you like wrestling for is okay, because it's just art, baby. It's just art, and there's no right or wrong way to consume it. Whatever speaks to you and makes you happy, makes you excited to keep watching, that's cool. You know what I mean? We gotta do more of that as wrestling fans. We gotta do more of saying, hey, that's not the way I see it, but that's what you see. That's dope. Shout out to you. All right. So anyway, let's get into it. My WrestleMania Night 1 predictions. All right. For the first thing, I had the Usos and LA Knight over IShowSpeed and Division. Nailed it. Bing. I also, not only did I have the Usos and LA Knight going over, but I said there would be some sort of turn where IShowSpeed would separate from Division. And sure enough, at the end of the match, IShowSpeed ended up giving Logan Paul a splash through the table. Shout out to me. Nailed that one. All right. Jacob Fatu over Drew McIntyre. Nailed it. Give me that one. I knew this would be a moment where Jacob Fatu would be launched into bigger things. And as we saw later in the week, that certainly is what happened. I picked Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair to go over in the women's tag team title match, but I later changed that pick to Lyra and Bayley. What a loser. I was wrong on that one. Okay. I should have known that WWE could not resist the nostalgia pop of having Paige return and then having Paige be the conquering hero. So shame on me. I got that one wrong. Then I had Becky going over AJ Lee. Got that one. Gunther over Roman Reigns. Got that one. And by the way, I was happy with the fallout of that one. I liked that they had Braun Breaker do the run-in. That actually saved a little bit of face for Seth Rollins, but Seth Rollins and Gunther went out there and they were hooping. Yes, sir. They were out there delivering. They didn't have much of a build to that match, but these two dudes are two of, if not the two very best wrestlers in WWE, and they certainly delivered. Even given a lack of build, the match was still fire. All right, I had Liv going over Stephanie Vaquer. You nailed that one. I had Randy going over Cody, and I was wrong on that one. Boo me. Boo me. So, overall, I was, let me see, what was that? 4-2 on night one. So that's pretty solid. Pretty solid. Night one was widely panned for a number of reasons, and deservedly so. All right, deservedly so. The way that main event played out with Pat McAfee's involvement, it made me feel like there was a change of plans around that main event. Now, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Pat McAfee had previously said that he was finished with WWE. He felt like, you know, his time in WWE had kind of just come and gone, and he was just ready to move on and do other things, and he said he wouldn't be in WWE for a while. And I'm sure TKO came with a check, and they said, hey, man, come get this money. And Pat McAfee said, okay. Okay. And so he became a part of the WrestleMania build. It's been pretty consistent over the past few years that TKO likes to add some celebrity involvement for the WrestleMania main event. And, I mean, now, the question we got to ask is, do they feel that way because they feel like there's a lack of star power on Cody Rhodes' side? I think that's a fair question to ask, right? Like, why do they keep trying to drop somebody in the middle of Cody's main event? Because they didn't try to drop somebody in the middle of Roman Reigns and CM Punk, right? They didn't try to drop somebody in the middle of that one. So if you're a Cody fan, I think it's a fair question, right? Like, does TKO believe in your boy? Do they see what you see? Are they on the Cody train the same way that you're on the Cody train? That's a fair question. It's a fair question. But the way that main event played out, I'm not sure it gave us the clearest direction as to what's next. Cody overcame the odds to retain the title. But then Randy left him laying. He hit him with the belt and he kicked him in the face. Cody had a nasty shiner. You guys can probably all go online and see that. And it still makes me feel like Randy is going to keep coming after the title, and like he probably is going to eventually get that title. The crowd support is behind the idea of Randy winning number 15. So what are they going to do with that? That all remains to be seen. All right, let's move on to night 2 of WrestleMania. My predictions for night 2. I had Brock going over Oba. I was wrong, and I was so happy to be wrong. Let's go. Listen, the way that they started off that show with Oba Femi getting that absolutely huge win over Brock Lesnar was awesome. It was awesome. I was watching the show with my wife and kids, and when they counted 3 and Oba Femi won that match, I looked at my wife and said, made man. Made man. Oba Femi was a made man after that win over Brock Lesnar, and after the way that Monday Night Raw started the next night, I firmly believe that's the truth. Now, we'll talk a little more about that in a few minutes. All right. In the ladder match, I had Penta going over JD McDonough, Rey Mysterio, Rusev, Javon Evans, and Dragon Lee. Nailed that one. Give it up. I had Trick going over Sammy. Nailed that one. And not only did I, but here's the thing that I didn't want, that they actually did do, and I would say they did it successfully. They executed the double turn. They executed the double turn. I didn't want to see a double turn because I think Trick Williams is such a good bad guy. His whole thing is, I'm going to get up here, I'm going to talk this trash, and you're going to love me for it because I'm going to be too fly, too swaggy, too cocky, and there's nothing you can do about it. And that's Trick's thing, right? And he's so good at it, and why would you try to change that? But you know what? By the end of that match, the people were booing Sammy, and they were cheering Trick, and it just felt like a natural transition. So hopefully being a babyface doesn't cut Trick's legs off. Okay, hopefully Trick still feels good coming out swagging on people, talking trash, insulting people, because that's the stuff people love about Trick Williams. If they don't take any of that away and they still let Trick basically be Trick, then this can work with him as a babyface. But I just hope he doesn't turn into a bland babyface, right? If you still need to cheat a little bit, if you still need to talk down to somebody, talk a little trash, then do what you gotta do. But let Trick be Trick. So the turn is done. Let's see where it's going. But just don't cut Trick's legs off. Don't turn him into a bland babyface. Let's see how this goes. I had Rhea going over Jade. Nailed that one. I had Dom going over Finn. I was wrong. Finn never wins anything. It's not because Finn's not great. Finn is awesome. And the demon entrance was awesome. But they just don't usually ever let him win. And Dom is someone who is going to be a super duper star in WWE. And he seemed like the person who would get the nod going in through this match. And I was actually happy to see the Demon Finn Balor get a win, just because Finn is a vet and he's super dope, and it's cool to see him actually get a win on this big stage. Last time he came out as the Demon was at WrestleMania 39, and Edge split his damn head open with a ladder, and that did not go well for the Demon. So the main event, we had Punk versus Roman. I had Roman going over. Nailed that one. So on night 2, this was, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I was 5-1. 5-1 on night 2. So it's pretty good. 5-1 on night 2. Not bad. Okay, not bad. Not bad for the weekend. All right. I think that how did you guys do on your predictions? All right, if you guys made predictions, how did you do? Were you surprised at the outcomes of any of the matches? Did the women's tag match throw you off? Did you guys know? Did you guys feel? First of all, it was easy to, if you just know WWE logic, there's a great chance that they were not going to debut somebody or return somebody and then have them lose. That's just common logic. I just didn't think that. The tag team doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? I don't expect that Brie and Paige will be the tag team champs for long. I think that, as soon as Nikki is well enough, they're going to, jump Paige and kick her out the group. And I don't know if Brie will keep both belts or whatever. We'll see how that goes. But Paige and Brie seems like a weird pairing. So we'll see how that goes. But that's WrestleMania 42. Now, the big idea, the big conversation coming out of WrestleMania 42 is one that I think is a little bit off-center, and it's the idea that WrestleMania is kind of losing its soul. And this is something that Ariel Helwani said. This is something I saw, I believe it was Mike Ryan from the Dan Le Batard show talking about, and I see, conversations from people like, the Rob Parkers of the world, right? Oh, I can't believe people still watch wrestling. You know what I mean? Like, and it's all in the same bucket, right? With the increased eyeballs that WWE is getting from their partnership with ESPN, having night 1 and night 2 of WrestleMania being broadcast on the ESPN family of networks, you're getting a much wider reach, right? WrestleMania is this huge spectacle. And they promoted it so heavily. It was on every big show. Get Up, First Take, Sports Center. If you watch anything on ESPN over the course of the last month, you were catching the promotions for WrestleMania. ESPN promoted WrestleMania so heavily. So there were a ton of eyeballs on that first hour of WrestleMania Night 1 and WrestleMania Night 2. The good thing is you get more eyeballs. The bad thing is you get more eyeballs. And with more eyeballs comes more critics. And so you're going to have, like I said, the Rob Parkers and the people like that who are like, I can't believe people still watch wrestling. Colin Cowherd used to be wrestling fans are booger eaters till, Fox got in bed with wrestling. And you're going to have those people, but you can't mind those people, right? If you're a wrestling fan, that's been a pretty consistent thing. I think that the whole, it's fake, right? Like, that to me is really kind of phasing out, because it's just about WWE has done a great job of making WWE more of a normal mainstream thing, where it's not as niche of a thing to like. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with being a niche thing to like, but WWE fills the audience with celebrities, like big time major celebrities. Anybody who you can think of has been ringside at a WWE show, and especially when they have these big shows like WrestleMania, they pan to the audience and they make sure that you see that, Stephen A. Smith is there, professional football players are there, singers and actors are there. So all these celebrities, the people who people admire, UFC fighters, NBA players, all these people, they're all there and they're all enjoying WWE. They've done a great job of normalizing WWE to make to the point where the people who are like, oh, it's fake, right? Like, they're kind of becoming the minority. It's like, yes, wrestling is not real fights, but neither is anything else on TV. And I don't know why you're stuck on that part of this. Whatever. Um, Another part of this is kind of the wrestling fan sentiment that's been growing for a while with the ever increasing ticket prices for WWE shows, the disappearance of house shows, right, which are the more affordable, uh, smaller town shows, not as big, glamorous of productions, but it's always been a great way for people to, just get access to the product, get access to the show. If you are someone like me, I got kids who don't love, like fireworks and pyro and loud noises. So those live shows, those house shows as they call them, those are great events for me to take my kids to because you get to see the stars. The ticket prices are lower, and you don't have to deal with the things like the pyro that might disturb some of the fans. And so there were all these reasons why the live event shows were a big benefit to the fans. They were not as big a benefit to the company because they don't draw as much money. Typically, you don't have the same kind of pricing for one of those shows that you would have for an episode of Raw or SmackDown or PLE. But so it's understandable why, from a company, budget bottom line standpoint, why you would cut back on some of those shows. But from a fan standpoint, we don't love it, right? We don't love it. And so the the price is going up and the value's going down. And that just seems to be a growing sentiment. So that's something that WWE has to kind of reckon with, right? They got to find the balance. Or are they just going to keep ignoring the fan pushback? Are they going to keep ignoring the fan sentiment and just say, we're going to do whatever we got to do to keep growing, right? Because the monster of business is that you always got to grow, okay? There's no going back. We gouged fans, but we can't go backwards. We can't lower ticket prices because we can't turn to our stockholders and say, we're going to take a lower quarterly earnings this year, but we're going to make fans more happy. That just doesn't work in business. That's not how business works. That's not how business operates. And people can complain all they want to. Ticket prices will drop when the market dictates that the ticket prices have gone too high. And so when we start seeing more and more empty seats on TV at the Monday Night Raws and the SmackDowns, more and more empty seats at the PLEs, and the viewership gets lower, then that'll be the message that they'll receive that message loud and clear. So if you're a fan, it is your job to be critical. Be critical. I'm not saying spend your whole day online complaining because that's not healthy for anybody. But if you're put off by the ticket prices, voice your opinion. Let it be known. Put it out there. If you are spending your time and money on something, it's your job to criticize it. Don't just take whatever they give you and accept it. But that's something that WWE and TKO is going to have to come to grips with and find a resolution going forward. I don't know personally that they care enough, right, about keeping families involved and engaged in the product. I think they only care about having a consistent bottom line. And I think, like anything, these things go up and down, right? They go up and down, they fluctuate, and you're gonna have sometimes when your product is hot, and sometimes when your product is not. And so once we get to the point where WWE hits a downturn in attendance and in revenue, what's going to happen? Are they just going to start firing people to make a big show? Are they going to start releasing wrestlers to make a big show? Or are they going to do better in the fans' pocketbooks? So we'll see. We'll see where that's going. But that's my big thought coming out of the weekend. Unfortunately, as much as there was a lot of great stories coming out of the actual wrestling of the weekend, you got to talk about these elements that are also a part of the WWE show, and I hope they get that fixed going forward. All right, on a lighter note, let's get to the fallout from WrestleMania. Let's talk about how Monday Night Raw went and where we see these things going forward. So, Monday Night Raw started with Oba Femi. Oba Femi came out and started Monday night's episode of Raw in the same way that Roman Reigns did the night after he beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania. He came out, the crowd is going crazy, and Oba just said, "The ruler has arrived," and he dropped the mic and walked off. That was intentional. That was completely intentional. They want you to know that Oba is up next, and he might even be right now, okay? It is Oba's time, and I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see where Oba is going, where they're going with Oba. Oba's got all the tools. He's big. He's imposing. He talks well. He's a believable ass kicker. And earmuffs, kids, that is the best things you can be in wrestling, is a believable butt kicker. And Oba, he's got that. He's got it all in spades. And so I just hope going forward, listen, I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, Oba needs to be the king of the ring. Oh, Oba needs to win Money in the Bank." No, none of that. Oba needs to just tear through the whole roster and win the Royal Rumble, come in maybe at number 15 and just lay waste, drop bodies, go to WrestleMania next year and lay waste to Cody Rhodes. Hello. Let's go. That is your plan for Oba Femi. Oba Femi needs to straight dominate. Straight dominate. Don't have him out here working with Danhausen. Don't have him out here doing nothing stupid, nothing silly. Just have him dropping bodies. Oba is the ruler, and I'm excited to see where Oba is going forward. Speaking of Oba, the man Oba beat at WrestleMania, Brock Lesnar, kind of shocked everybody, right? He took off his gloves, put him in the middle of the ring, took off his boots, put him in the middle of the ring, and he really gave us the impression that he is retiring. Now, this is one of those moments, one of those things where I can't wait to see the next season of WWE Unreal, because I don't know how involved the production was on this Brock Lesnar situation. Let me tell you a little bit of a story. I was at WrestleMania 33, the one in Orlando, the one where Roman fought Undertaker, and me and my buddy Omar, we were in the concession line, and there was somebody behind us, this lady, and she was having a conversation with somebody else who was next to her, and she was saying, "Yeah, my neighbor's friend, Mark is wrestling tonight, and it's his last match." And I was like, "Huh?" And so I was just putting the pieces together, and I was like, "Mark, is that the Undertaker? Get the fuck out of here!" And so it's crazy. So me and my boy were just talking to each other. We were like, "No, that's crazy. You think she was talking about the Undertaker?" And I was not as in the weeds as we are today with all of the the Sean Ross Sapps of it all, and the people who break the stories and all the other stuff. But sure enough, there were rumors circulating that Undertaker might be having his retirement match, and that turned out to be the plan. That Undertaker was supposed to be retiring in that match against Roman Reigns. And so what Brock Lesnar did after his match with Oba Femi was very symbolic. He very much intended everybody to give the message that he was retiring. He cried in the ring, Paul Heyman cried. They had emotional hugs. And so they very much want us to believe that Brock Lesnar is retiring. Paul Heyman came out and gave an emotional tribute to Brock Lesnar. And Paul Heyman really wants us to believe that Brock Lesnar is retired. Now, I will say this. Do I think Brock Lesnar is retired? Yes. Do I think Brock Lesnar will be back? Yes. You know why? Because fighters and wrestlers never really retire. They never really retire. They might be tired. They might be like, you know what? I want to get off this crazy workout schedule. I want to sit home. I want to grow out my gut a little bit. But you know what happens? They get bored. They get bored. They sit at home and they're like, oh God, like this is what we do. We just hang out and go to the grocery store and spend this money. You know what I mean? Like at some point, Brock is going, you know what's going to happen? His wife's going to be like, oh man, we need to remodel the kitchen. And he's going to be like, sure, babe, whatever. And then she's going to get the contractors. She's going to come in. He's going to be like, this costs how much? He's like, I'm going back to work. Let's go. Okay. Listen, I do believe Brock is retired, but I do believe Brock will be back. He's in too good of shape. I mean, listen, we don't know. That's true. Truth is like, we don't know, right? He might go home and have to live in an ice tub for 3 days, but he looks to be in great shape, and he certainly still has demand. He gets a huge pop. I think Brock will be back, but for now, I think that his intention is to be retired. So Paul Heyman gives the emotional Brock promo, and then he kind of just shifts the attention to the vision. We got Austin Theory and Logan Paul. God, I'll be forgetting these guys' names. And we also got the return of the Street Profits. They came out and attacked Paul and Theory, and it was cool to see those guys back. Braun Breaker is back. Seth Rollins came out, and so we're getting, Braun Breaker versus Seth Rollins. Listen, the thing about Braun Breaker is clearly they have big things planned for Braun Breaker. I just don't see him right now being, he doesn't have it right now. He has everything you want in a top superstar, but he just currently doesn't have like what I would call like the command of the audience, right? Like I mentioned, I like storytelling. Another thing I like is the performance art, right? Like I like to see who can command the audience, right? It's not just about having like chants. It's about being able to understand what the audience is trying to give you and you delivering what you need to deliver to the audience. Like there's a balance to it all. And I don't think Braun Breaker is quite there yet, but they're going to push him. They're going to push him to where they see him going. And, we'll see if he gets there or not. I think he will eventually. He will eventually. He'll hit a stride and we'll eventually view Braun Breaker as a big star. And good for him. All right. CM Punk came out and he was very sad because he lost his world championship, but he was much more sad because, he lamented a bunch of people who had passed away over the course of the last year or so. And, he mentioned that losing the world title was not nearly as sad as those things. Then Cody Rhodes comes out and basically tells Punk that, he can have a world title match anytime he wants. So we're teasing Punk Cody. We don't know if that's coming, anytime soon, but we know that that's off in the future. Liv Morgan and Stephanie Vaquer, these guys are going to continue. Liv Morgan came out and she was very annoying as she tends to be because that's her character. And Stephanie Vaquer met her at the top of the entrance ramp and let her know that it's still, she still has her eyes on her. Also, we got the debut of Sol Ruka from NXT. And I like the idea of Liv working with Sol as Sol comes in to Monday Night Raw. I think Liv Morgan's a great person to get Sol going. A high-profile feud so people can get to know Sol Ruka, see all the amazing things Sol Ruka can do. And Sol still has a lot of growing to do herself as a performer. And I think putting her against Liv in the Judgment Day will be a great spot for her. Rhea Ripley and Io Sky had a tag team match against the Kabuki Warriors, and Rhea Ripley is now off to SmackDown to be the Women's World Champion over there. And I think that's great because, honestly, if you look at the women's roster on SmackDown, they got some good performers, but they don't have anybody who they have truly featured. When Rhea's over there, they're going to feature Rhea. They see Rhea as a top star in the company. and they're going to build stories around her. And that's what the women's division over there has really needed. Like I said, they got stars, right? They got Charlotte, they got, Alexa Bliss, they got Jade, but they haven't truly focused on any of them. So I think now with Rhea going over there, they will actually focus on Rhea and they'll actually focus on some women's stories. And there's some good matches to be had over there too. Rhea and Julia had a good match a few weeks ago. And I'd love to see them do a little more with that. We could put Rhea with Tiffany time. And by the way, there's still some NXT call-ups to be had. I think Blake Monroe is going to end up on SmackDown, and I'd love to see her work with Rhea. I'd like to see her work with a lot of people. So that's something to keep an eye on going forward. And finally, we ended Monday Night Raw by Roman Reigns coming out, and he came out with Jimmy and Jay. And so basically, they reestablished that the Bloodline is back. They're kind of slow playing it, right? But as they were, holding up the ones, and by the way, I have to say, people were really excited when they came out, but when they all held up the ones, it wasn't like there was these thunderous applause going on. I said this the other night in Turnbuckle Talk. Shout out Turnbuckle Talk. The sequel is rarely as good as the original. So I hope that WWE has some good plans for what to do with the Bloodline so that it doesn't all just feel the same. The Bloodline was interrupted by Jacob Fatu, who came out and cut an emotional promo telling Roman Reigns he doesn't want to be the tribal chief, but he needs everything the tribal chief has. He needs the money. He needs the Rolex. He needs the private schools for his children, and he'll go through Roman to get it. Okay. I loved it. It was emotional. It felt important, and it looked like it was important to Jacob. It looked like it was important to Roman and Jimmy and Jay, because they definitely were acknowledging, no pun intended, Jacob after he cut his promo. Roman said he said that he doesn't know if Jacob was ready. He doesn't know if Jacob was ready for the spot, and he wasn't sure that Jacob was ready to acknowledge him if he doesn't win. So that tells me that they're basically running back the way this Bloodline story started to begin with. If you remember, Roman wanted Jay to fall in line, and Jay wanted his shot at the title. And it basically came down to it where Roman said, hey, Jay, if I beat you, you have to acknowledge me, which was basically to say, you got to fall in line. Now, Roman's going to beat Jacob Fatu at Backlash. Does that mean that Jacob Fatu will now fall in line, and this will be the beginning of the new Bloodline? Is he going to replace Solo? Is he going to be in the Solo spot? We'll see. So it looks like they're trying to basically run back the same thing they did with the Bloodline originally. I think this time, though, I think Jacob will be in the Jimmy role. In the Jay role. And the role that Jay played last time had me saying that Jay needed to be the one to overthrow Roman and take over the Bloodline or disband the Bloodline, whatever it was. And they never decided to actually go that way. But Jacob Fatu is just too big of a presence. He's too good on the mic. He's too noticeable to just be a background character. So if they do this with the intention of growing Jacob Fatu's profile, then it's going to be fire. And if they do this just with the intention of having Roman beat everybody for the next 2 years or 2 months, I know he ain't staying around for 2 years, then we got a chance. But listen, I say it again, sequels rarely top the original. So I hope they got something fresh in mind for this Bloodline story 2.0, and let's see where it goes. All right, listen, y'all, that's all I got. All right, wrap with you guys for about 35 minutes. That went a little longer. Than we normally do. I'm gonna try to keep these two around about a half hour. I'm gonna try to keep them family friendly. So if you guys listening, with your kids around, or if you're listening in the car, going to or from wherever you gotta go, I don't want you to feel like you gotta, not be able to play it because I'm be, doing a bunch of cursing and going crazy and crashing out. That's not what we're gonna do over here. Okay, we're gonna keep it fun. And we're going to talk about the things we enjoy, man. So thank you guys for kicking it with me for a few minutes. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Please hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Tell a friend to tell a friend. And I'll talk to you guys again soon. Peace out.